You need to understand. You don't need to understand, but why do I have the opinion that I have, you know? Whenever we try to understand people, we also have to understand them historically. And when I make statements about victimhood movements, about the former woke movement, about racism and sexism and so on, when I start talking about political things, I try not to display a political opinion because I really believe I don't have a political opinion that is represented anywhere in reality. So yeah, I'm trying to speak about politics, but not to provide or push a political agenda. So where do I come from? Why do I speak about individuation? I believe when you come from a certain situation, you are pushed towards all of this. And the circle is closing. I stumbled upon an interpretation of Nietzsche that extracts from Nietzsche the message that the goal, or that a modus operandi, a way to be, that is kind of can be a guide, is to be innocently arrogant. But not arrogant in a negative way. And over time, virtues and moral understanding has shifted. One example is that the Greek hero Odysseus was using a cowardly, cunning tactic. And by the way, Vikings also used very cunning and therefore, after a certain moral concept, cowardly tactics. But they were not looking at the concept of right or wrong, about these moral concepts or implications. They were looking at the outcome. Was the outcome intended? What was the outcome good for the collective? But what this is another question, you know. But Odysseus used the Trojan horse, and his acts, the way what he did, could not be seen as heroic when we apply the modern or the moral concepts that followed later. But so we see that the Greeks had a different perception of what is heroic or gloriful. And the same is with the term arrogant. So now that I stumble across this now, makes me realize that is what I was. I was innocently arrogant. I am a gardener. I was a gardener. I was working all day outside for not a lot of money. But I was very confident person, very natural. I look everybody in the eyes. I don't make differences based on income or accomplishments. I have real respect for people, but this does not make me connect to them in a devout or in an arrogant way. So my arrogance was not hurting anybody. It was displayed self-love, I believe, something like that. I don't want to glorify it, but let me tell you that I believe in a concept that is called innocent arrogance that hurts nobody except of one, and that is the covert narcissist. On YouTube, everybody hates the covert narcissist. Why? because the covert narcissist wants to be hated. They really have the ability to get attention. Narcissists, remember, they have introject constancy only. Therefore, they force everybody to give them attention, because the covert narcissist is only interacting with their introject of you. And this has implications that you cannot imagine if it has not happened to you. It makes them so special in a way that everybody hates them. And on YouTube, they have a special status in the community. Everybody talks about them. Nobody really knows how to describe them except of Sam Vaknin, probably, or Richard Grennan. Or maybe one more or two. And they get a lot of attention also on YouTube, but negative attention, because they are masters at extracting negative attention. Bluntly speaking, they are narcissists that cannot get the positive attention. Let's say, if we assume, and I can't diagnose anyone, but if we assume Kanye West would be a narcissist, he gets the Grammys all the time, but if he don't get the Grammys, he will post something on X that is so controversial that he now gets negative attention, and he don't care what kind of attention he gets, okay? So, covert narcissists are masters at getting negative attention, but that's not the point here. The point is that when you, as a innocent, arrogant person, live around or close or come in contact with a covert narcissist, they will start hate you for being who you are. And everybody knows that. That's nothing new. We could describe it in therapeutic language, but that would be weaponization, and it would mean to steal the terms coined by Sam Vaknin. I'm already guilty of doing that. So now, this is also the reason why I come to these statements that I mentioned in the beginning of this video. When I say things about integration, when I speak about minorities or people who have been victimized, people who have been victimized for their race, and I don't like the word. I don't make differences based on race. I don't want to say white man, black man. I don't want it. And I don't say it because I am not a racist. I don't make this difference. But how many people are there on both sides who say, I've been victimized, I have suffered from this, therefore I have a certain prejudice towards the white man. I have suffered from this, therefore I have a prejudice towards the black man. And all these people who are in this make the difference. And there is all kinds of discrimination into both directions. And everybody says, well, I discriminate them because they discriminated me. But this is not solving the problem. The same is with sexism. We cannot make differences between men and women in terms of equality. If we do, we create sexism, whether it's a feminist that is now fighting men and devaluing men and whatever. This is sexism as well. Whether we have men that feel that feminists have attacked them, therefore they now have to revenge back. This is a circle. You see what I'm saying? This is a circle. And now again, let me get back to my personal experience. I was exposed to a covert narcissist. It is a deeply traumatized person, a person that has a bad object introjected in their mind, telling them that they are unlovable. It's a person with no personality core. It's a deeply traumatized person that will revenge on everybody around them. And this is what I want to share with you in this video. When we integrate victims, a covert narcissist is a victim of their parents. When we integrate this person into social structures, they revenge the damage done to them by their parents to everybody around them. When we integrate people who have been discriminated or abused for whatever reasons, whether it's racism, sexism, it can be anything, deeply traumatized, abused person. When we integrate this person into a healthy environment, there is a chance that they will take revenge on innocent people, on the most healthy people, because this is what they naturally want to target, and they can do this in a very covert, avoidant way. The most healthy person can be targeted by avoidant, coward spirits, because you can't confront them. They undermine you. They are all pervasive. They are so backhanded. They literally smile in your face and stab you. They take they come with nothing. You adopt them. You give them everything they have in their life, and they will bite your hand and become territorial. They are in a survival mode. They are in a very primitive defense reaction. They are in survival mode. And therefore you can't connect to them on a human level. There is no love. They don't know about the concept of love. They fight for survival. So they will eat what you give them until they are strong enough to switch the power dynamic in a covert way that you don't even realize, and then they will leverage everything they have against you. This is intended to shift the power dynamic from you insulting them. You insult them by giving them love. Everything they have, you give it to them. It means that you're superior to them. So they use victimhood. They will display being absolute harmless victims of circumstances, and that they are absolute submissive to you. They submit to you in a way that you think you have an infantile child in front of you. And when you start parenting this child, they will go through a mutation before you know it, and revenge on you for parenting them better than their own parents have parented them. So I'm not saying that every person, every minority that has been discriminated will also be the worst of the worst, in short, a covert narcissistic. But this is where I'm coming from, and therefore I go to I understand that I was immature, I understand that I have to individuate, that I have to learn to do a lot of things, and I can't explain it in one video here. My whole channel is about this. But I'm just telling you where my insights come from. Why I say that I am for integration, that I am not a sexist or a racist in any way. But I understand that we cannot willy-nilly integrate deeply traumatized people into a healthy, functional structure. This can be dangerous. We need to understand psychological backgrounds, and we need to be individuated and capable to see these structures. Otherwise, we can have backfiring effects. In other words, if you have a sick, hurt body part and you integrate it into a healthy body part that is functional. You take something that is not working at the moment because it's broken, it's depleted, it has been abused, it's traumatized, and you put it into a healthy, functional system. It's not necessarily happening that this healthy, functional system will make the other part healthy and functional also. It can happen that the dysfunctional part is rather infecting the surroundings with its disease. So I'm not generalizing. I don't want to say that every abused person that has been victimized and is in a victim state. I'm also, I hate victim blaming. There are real victims that need help and support. I was a victim that needed support, yes. But as with every piece of my body, with every cell of my body, I fight the victim role. I don't want to be a victim. I want to function. I want to be functional enough to be innocently arrogant, but hurting nobody, abusing nobody, be codependent to nobody. So the point I'm trying to make is, why do I come to these messages or to these insights or these points of view that I have? That we must be careful, mindful, and understand psychological backgrounds in order to make integration work. We need to focus first on those people who have been victimized, who are victims, and who want to reject the victimhood role, who want to reject victim state, who want to function, who want to contribute. It's not about how functional they are, it's about what they want to do. And I also come to this insight that we also should look at the outcomes and the deeds of people rather than the words of people, because words can be very deceptive. It's about the outcomes. How is the effect on the environment of a person? What is their biography? Because they will repeat the same patterns again. And again, not every person who has been discriminated is turning toxic like their abusers. So the abusers were toxic. Abusers are needy and dependent. They need something. They are dysfunctional. Therefore, they become violent. Therefore, they need to extract something and switch the power dynamic. So an abuser always tries to make his victim look like the victim was dependent on the abuser, while in reality, the abuser is always dependent on the victim. This is what we see in colonialistic slavery. The colonialists need the slaves. The slaves don't need them. The slaves don't need colonialists or slave masters. The slaves are healthy and strong. They're living in a self-supplying way. They were happy. But then the needy cowards come and enslave them. You understand this? And then they switch the power dynamic. They restrict the slaves until the slaves are forced to believe that they are now dependent of the masters. And this is what happens in these relationships with covert narcissists as well. They try to switch the power dynamic, because you, as the supply of a narcissist, are superior to the narcissist, because the narcissist needs you. You don't need the narcissist. And they do everything to switch the power dynamic and the narrative. So, again, I'm not saying that everybody who is being abused by people who show cruelty and sadism, which are signs for weakness and self-hate. Not everybody who is taking in this aggression will necessarily take this aggression, this aggressive energy that they have absorbed as a victim, as a person that has been enslaved by a parasitic person. Not everybody will take this aggression and put it against oneself, which would mean to become depressive or self-doubting. So this would mean you buy the lie of the slave master, the shared fantasy they want to force on you that you are now dependent of them. If you buy this, if you really start to believe it, you can't be innocently arrogant anymore. You will believe, oh, I'm a victim, I'm a slave now, I am dependent of these people. No, this would mean you take the aggression against yourself. Don't do this. The other solution would be to put the aggression against new targets, someone else. And this is what is the danger in integration. If you take a deeply hurt person that has absorbed aggression and you put it somewhere else, it is possible, it's not necessarily happening, but it's possible that these people take their internalized aggression and put it away on other people. It would mean they become cruel and sadistic themselves. They would show the same weakness and the same self-hate that their slave masters, their abusers, have tried to put on them and also get rid of it. That's also some quirk of the covert narcissist. They try to get rid of their self-hate by using a weaponized therapeutic language when I say that they do projective identification. Sorry. Okay? And they stabilize themselves as long as they can do this, as long as they get the attention of a victim, as long as they get the negative attention, they get stabilized. And the main strategy is to first abuse you, make you dependent in some way by many, they have many ways to do this, and then ghost you, then pretend you're not there anymore. So they are dependent of you, but they pretend you are dependent on them, okay? So that's the trick. Yeah. So therefore I come to my statements I make on this channel, that we have to be careful how to integrate, because there is an opportunity. It's something that we have to be aware of, otherwise we are living in a fantasy. The reality is people who have received aggression and discrimination, I don't know about the percentage. We should research that. How much of them turn this around and become discriminating and inverted discriminating? You know, they start to discriminate those who discriminated them, and therefore not solve the problem but enhance it, especially if we then safeguard them and integrate them into a healthy environment again, where they will look for innocent functioning targets, because they will say, if it was a person that has suffered from sexism, they will then find another person, a person of the opposite sex, and make it responsible for the abuse they have experienced and project their aggression towards them. But it's not the right person to address, because therefore the cycle will repeat. The aggression will go to this person, and this person then will become potentially also involved in this circle of revenge and hate and weakness and self-hate, ultimately. Hope you got my message. To make it clear once again in the end, racism is stupid. Racism is a disease of the mind, the same as sexism. It's, I don't know how to say it, it's a mental disease. It's stupid. But it is a reality. And it carries a lot of dangers, how it metastasizes and keeps itself alive. And this is described in my video.